are now listening to the IELTS podcast. Learn from tutors and ex-examiners who are masters of IELTS preparation. Your host, Ben Worthington.
Recent Task 2 questions and answers, and just to help you even more, although this is audible information, I want it to go beyond information, and I want to give you the frameworks to use. I want to give you real tools to use in order to pass the IELTS exam. Why? Because I see too many students just bouncing around YouTube looking for how to write a task 2 essay, how to discuss the advantages, disadvantages, discuss both sides, and I don't see that much value in those tutorials, in all honesty. It's like how to write a Band 9 essay. Oh, practice, and write an essay that scores full points for each criteria. Oh, thanks a bunch. That's helped me a lot, Whereas if you get a framework to use, if you get a tool to use, then you can start applying what you have learnt. And a great way to apply what you have learnt is to make yourself accountable. And this brings me on to the next point, which I almost forgot about in the last podcast we did, which is to be accountable. Okay, it helps if you're working with others. This is why when you sign up to our email list now, you get an invitation and you'll be able to join our study streams. What's the study stream? Well, 2 hours, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. So for a total of 6 hours each week from now up until the end of May, maybe beyond May if it goes well. I will be studying for 2 hours on those days, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, 10 a.m. till 12 a.m. or 12 p.m. 12 p.m. Central European time, which is about an hour behind GMT. Anyway, when you subscribe to those sessions, okay, you'll be able to watch me study and you'll be able to study yourself. How do they work? Well, you join in the chat, okay, and I'm there. You'll be able to see me on video. Lucky you. But you'll be able to see me there. We can have a chat. You just post in the chat like what you're working on, any questions you might have related to IELTS, whatever. And then after 10 minutes, we shut up. I mute the microphone. And we just get our heads down and we work on what we said we were going to work on. So we've got that element of accountability. We've had a couple of students so far, but we didn't really promote it. Now I'm promoting it. I'll probably, it's going to start becoming more frequent on the emails we send out. And this will help you because, once you've said your goals to me, and you're locked in for that 50 minutes, it makes it much harder just to get up and wander to the fridge, for example, as I'm guilty of doing if I'm studying at home, or of just getting distracted. In fact, one student told me, she said that with these study sessions, even though they're not IELTS classes, she tells her husband that she's studying online with these classes so that he takes the child, so that she just gets an extra 2 hours solid studying time. So you can use it that way, or maybe you just say to your housemate, hey, I've got an online class, whatever, I don't mind. But we meet online, we study together. If you've got IELTS questions, I can help you out briefly, but it's not an hour of IELTS tuition. That would cost you around $75 per hour. It's just basically, just a group together. I've always said you're not alone with this, and here it's just a tool to help you. Another tool in your arsenal. Talking about tools, before we jump into the recent questions seen online by our students and seen in the exam by our students, before we jump into those, let me tell you about the new tool we've got. It's the AI essay checking tool. You're going to get your score for each criteria, and when you upgrade, you'll get a detailed explanation, and you can use this to improve faster. You know, in the space of 50 minutes, for example, we're studying together for 50 minutes, you could submit the essay 50 times, assuming you'd be able to upgrade it each time. But, you know, considering it takes maybe 5 minutes to upgrade the essay, if you're focusing on just one of the points, you can submit the essay 10 times and figure out, okay, it's this area that I'm losing points on. If I do it this way, I lose even more. If I do it this way, it stays the same. If I do it this way, I'm gaining points, you know? And the beautiful thing, or the interesting thing is, you don't even have to write essays. You can just find some old essays that you've written in the past and just submit those and start working on those essays and then getting those up to band 7, band 8, band 9, so you know what they actually look like. There's lots of different ways you can use this tool. So when you join our email list as well, when you sign up, we give you a full tutorial on how to write your essays. We give you frameworks. We give you more tools and techniques for you to employ just to make the whole process faster. Now, I forgot to say at the beginning, in this tutorial, I want to cover 5 essay questions. In the previous one, we only did 3, which by my standards and my own criteria is just pathetic. So let's just blast through these. I haven't looked at these before, and this will just help you, you know, get to grips with the framework that I'm teaching here. So let's jump into it. In some parts of the world, traditional festivals and celebrations have disappeared or are disappearing. Why is this happening? Body paragraph 1. What measures can be taken to ensure they do not disappear? Body paragraph 2. Easy, in my opinion. Okay, so why, first of all, let's paraphrase the question into a position for our body paragraph. Some parts of the world, traditional festivals and celebrations have disappeared or are disappearing. Why is this happening? This is happening, actually I'm not going to start with this is happening. I'm going to say traditional festivals and celebrations have disappeared because, okay, or are disappearing because. Now the first thing that comes to mind is this juggernaut, is this train of Anglo-Saxon culture that is just steamrolling, is just charging into other cultures. Okay, this Western Anglo-Saxon steamroller of culture, this cultural machine, juggernaut, is charging in. This is why Santa Claus is red, because of Coca-Cola. This is why, you know, in Spain, they have 2 Christmases now. In some families, they have 2 Christmases. Why? Because of all the American movies coming over that celebrate on the 24th, 25th, and the traditional Catholic one of celebrating Christmas on the 6th. So in some Spanish households, they have 2 Christmases. Why is this happening? Let's just get back to the point. Why is this happening? Because of the insane cultural media output from mainly from the United States of America, and is contaminating, infiltrating, taking over other cultures. This is why it is happening. Okay? This is why traditional festivals, celebrations might be disappearing or might have disappeared. Just a thought dump there. Once you got your thought dump out of your head and onto paper, you can drop it into a framework. We've got Band 9 frameworks on our course, so those help you accelerate your progress significantly. And also, if you're stuck with the idea generation, we give you lots of tools and frameworks to use to improve that as well. What measures could be taken to ensure they do not disappear? Now, in the previous tutorial, I talked about moving the question around and looking at it from different perspectives. We touched on, the society perspective. We touched on the technology perspective, and we touched on my favorite, which is like the cost economic perspective. Why is that my favorite? Because it can be used It's the most versatile. So anyway, what measures could be taken to ensure that traditional festivals and celebrations don't disappear? This, in my mind, is quite straightforward. Okay, the position is already there for me it's a direct question. It has to be body paragraph 2. So anyway, the government could subsidize associations that promote these events. The government could enact national holidays for the traditional events. And then, for example, in Spain, in Valencia, I don't know if this is 100% true or not. However, I'm not getting tested on my intelligence and my knowledge of Spanish cultural government funds. What I'm getting tested on is my ability to communicate my point of view. So I'm just going to say, for example, in Spain, they have a traditional festival called Fallas, and the associations related to this festival get special concessions from local municipalities, such as the ability to block roads, to set up tents and communities, to collect funds tax-free, so as to preserve and promote their cultural heritage. So as to preserve, protect, and promote. Look at that. Preserve, protect, and promote their cultural heritage. There we go. A little stylistic flair as well. Conclusion. Maybe probably just a summary here. So we could say, to conclude, and then we just give a summary of body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2, and a reflection of that will be the material for the introduction. Straightforward. When you're on our course, you'll see how easy it is. You can drop a few ideas into a framework, can't you? It's going to be very irritating for you to hear me say this is straightforward, but so I only said it in a quiet voice. So and I'm not going to emphasize. Let's just move on. Question number 2, we've got to move on. Actually, we've got 5 questions to do, or 4 more questions to do in the next 10-15 minutes. Some people encourage watching sports as a way of learning about teamwork and strategy. Body paragraph 1. Okay, that's a position, and I know that there's going to be a conjunction coming up, so I've pretty much already, realized that I've got to make a position around this. While others believe that one can learn these skills only through playing sports. Discuss both these views and give your opinion. So, paraphrase it. Let's see. Watching sports encourages, watching sports definitely helps a person to learn about teamwork and strategy. This is because, this is an important phrase, this is because these are usually professional athletes that are full-time thinkers and implementers of the game. There we go. Okay, they've often studied this for years on end. They live and breathe strategy and teamwork and employ the highest level techniques and the newest techniques, for example. Okay. Now I can easily think about, I'm going to give 2 examples, the Premier League, and I'll maybe talk about Mikel Arteta, how he brought in an amazing new strategy for the Arsenal, as they're called, and he totally revolutionized the team and they're almost on track to winning the Premier League, for example. And the average layman, because we don't want to go off topic, the average person can learn a lot about the strategies and teamwork by learning from professionals such as Mikel Arteta, whatever. Okay. Body paragraph 2. I said I was going to give 2 examples, so I'd probably talk about Formula 1 in the second one, and how Ferrari are just legendary in their strategies when it comes to Formula One. Now, body paragraph 2. While others believe that one can learn these skills only through playing sports, this is also true. As you've heard me say in previous podcasts, you cannot learn to ride a bike with a book, okay, just by reading a book. What does that mean? It means that we've got to apply it. We've got to actually put pen to paper, as the saying says. So what I would say here, I'm getting carried away. So the position is that this is 100. I completely agree that it is that to learn the skills and strategy at a deeper level, one must actually participate and apply them multiple times in order for them to be integrated and adopted by the person in question. Okay? For example, I always encourage my students to write essay after essay. I discourage them from bouncing around YouTube watching tutorial after tutorial. No, you're not going to learn that much. You're going to learn by putting pen to paper and writing an essay. So what I'm going to say here is that, let's see. Yeah, I'm just going to say you can only learn, and I think cycling is a classic example. You know, a person, and I'd just take this into a hypothetical example. I'd say a person could study cycling for all their life, but unless they've actually get on a bike, all the skills and knowledge they acquire is almost useless until they actually sit on a saddle and cycle, for example. Summary, we need both. We need the high level, we need to learn from the high level professionals, the strategists at Ferrari, for example, and also we need to actually apply these skills, for example. Okay, job done. Let's move on. New technologies have changed the way children spend their free time. Oh my goodness. Do you think the advantages of this trend outweigh the disadvantages? So I have an inkling, I have a feeling that the tutor, the exam writer, wants me to talk about screen time and kids. I'm pretty certain. New technologies. What new technologies have affected children in the last couple of years? Is it the I don't know, the advanced suspension on mountain bikes? Nah, probably not. It's probably the screen time and the smartphones that have just descended on these children. And children nowadays are what's called digital natives. Probably if some of my listeners are digital natives as well, that means you grew up from the technology from when you were a kid. It was not like me that it just suddenly came out of nowhere and it was just amazing. Some of you, you'll have had it all your life. Anyway, let's jump into it. So do you think the advantages of this trend outweigh the disadvantages? Body paragraph 1, the advantages of a kid being glued on YouTube 24/7 are that it frees up time for the parent so that they can watch their own YouTube channel. No, I'm just joking. So the advantages are that a child could, in theory, be watching maths or English or language learning tutorials in their free time because they are now readily available and possibly inexpensive in some cases. And therefore the kid, and now I need to develop it, and therefore the kid can learn more skills, become more intelligent, and have a better, more prosperous life in the future, in theory. Disadvantages. The children are at risk from cyberbullying. The children are at risk from potential bad actors, as they're called. The children are, could become addicted. This is a great example, and then we develop it. So those are the disadvantages. And then I could talk about a study. I could talk about, recent events, whatever. There we go. Body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2. This is a very common topic. Screen time, cyberbullying, social media, very common topic. Read about it, get better at this and you'll have more ideas. And again, we could look at this from different perspectives: technological perspective, safety perspective, the cost perspective, the efficiency perspective. Try to develop the skill of turning it around and looking at it from different viewpoints. In some parts of the world, traditional festivals and we've done that one. Some people believe that using taxpayer funds to look for life on other planets is important. Others, however, think that it is a waste of public money because there are much more important issues requiring funding on our own planet. Discuss both views and give your opinion. Okay, body paragraph 1. We need to use taxpayer funds to look for life on other planets because there are often a lot of side benefits or unexpected benefits that ultimately benefit the human race while we are in this quest for looking for new life. For example, the microwave is a spin-off technology that was originally developed by NASA and has benefited humanity immensely. Now, what I can say is spin-off technologies such as the microwave, such as possibly the internet, definitely benefit humanity in general, and also some even argue that it's humanity's destiny to become an interplanetary species, to quote our friend Mr. Musk. Body paragraph 2. It's definitely a waste of money. So I go straight into my position. Definitely a waste of money. There are parts of Glasgow that need funding immediately. Now, there are parts of the world that would definitely benefit from this money. Some of the poorest countries on earth, some of the poorest countries and poorest communities would benefit from, each country would benefit from having the funds directed towards them in order to help them survive, develop and prosper. Okay, now I'd probably need a few more points for each of those questions, for each of those answers. However, we've got the bare bones there, and all we need to do now is drop it into a framework and we're good. All right, final question. Let's see. Nowadays, instead of locally sourced produce, many supermarkets sell a variety of foods imported from other countries all across the world. Do the advantages of this development outweigh the disadvantages? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Advantages of importing food are greater variety. In some cases, it can save the consumer money. We all know that Latin America produces cheaper bananas than the Canary Islands, for example. And it can provide jobs for impoverished communities that, are more suited to grow produce, to grow fruit and veg, rather than, say, a greenhouse in Birmingham, which, that land could be used for many other different reasons. Okay, so there we go. Now, the disadvantages of importing these. Let's have a look. It could be more expensive because of the travel costs. 2, it's worse for the environment shipping all this food, and especially because a lot of it is perishable. It has to be transported fast, which means they could be using air travel, which is one of the biggest polluters. 3, sometimes in these countries the workers are taken advantage of by large multinational fruit producers and are subject to unsafe working conditions. I don't really want to give an example here in case I get sued, but there we go. In my essay, I definitely could. So there we go. Conclusion: there's pros and cons of both sides. However, if the food is imported in a safe way through reputable companies, it's definitely more advantageous for both parties. Okay, there we go. And I think the key in this question is produce. It's spelt produce. The pronunciation, you put the stress on the second part. And because we put that stress on the second part, produce, I know that we are talking about fruit and veg. That's usually what's meant by produce. And because it's in the collocation locally sourced produce and in the context of the supermarket, I know we're talking about fruit and veg. And I know that we're not using the verb to produce, for example. There we go. That's it from me today. Managed to get through all 5 questions, slightly longer than expected. Thank you very much for listening. Go to IELTSPodcast.com. Remember to sign up there and you'll get your free guide, your free frameworks, your free tools to help you pass the IELTS exam even faster. Have a beautiful day, a beautiful life. Stay safe and pass the IELTS. Please, all the best.
Thanks for listening to IELTSPodcast.com.